OS and IDE for Embedded System Design, Part 2. Types of multitasking. Multitasking means switching of execution among multiple tasks. Various types of multitasking are cooperative multitasking, preemptive multitasking, non-preemptive multitasking. First one, cooperative multitasking. In cooperative multitasking, a task or process gets a chance to execute only when the currently executing task or process voluntarily blocks the CPU. In this method, any task or process can hold the CPU as much time as it wants. In this type of implementation, it involves the mercy of the tasks each other for getting the CPU time for execution. It is known as cooperative multitasking. Preemptive multitasking. In preemptive multitasking, every task or process gets a chance to execute when and how much time a process gets is dependent on the implementation of the preemptive scheduling. In preemptive multitasking, the currently running task or process is preempted to give a chance to other task or process to execute. The preemption can be done on particular time interval basis or based on the task or process priority. Based on the task or process priority means when one task is executing, another high priority task will preempt the currently running task. Non-preemptive multitasking. In non-preemptive multitasking, the process or task which is currently given the CPU time is allowed to execute until it terminates or enters the blocked or wait state, that is when waiting for an IO or system resources. Preemptive scheduling. In preemptive scheduling, every task in the ready queue gets a chance to execute. There will be a preemptive scheduling algorithm. It decides when and how often each process gets a chance to execute. Preemption is the act of moving a running process or task into the ready queue by the scheduler, but the process will not request for it. The two important approaches adopted in preemptive scheduling are time-based preemption, priority-based preemption. Time-based preemption means preempting the task based on particular interval of time. Priority-based preemption means preempting the currently executing task when the high priority task preempts the currently execution task. Preemptive SJF scheduling or shortest remaining time SRT. SJF full form is shortest job first. In this method, when the new process enters into ready queue, the preemptive SJF scheduling algorithm arranges the ready queue and it will check whether the time required for the execution of the new process is less than the remaining execution time of the currently running process. If the remaining execution time of the currently running process is more than the time required for the execution of the newly entered process, then it will preempt the currently executing process and the newly entered process will execute. Example 1. Three processes are having process IDs P1, P2, P3. Their execution time is 10, 5, 7 milliseconds respectively. These three processes enters the ready queue together. A new process in which execution time 2 milliseconds enters the ready queue after 2 milliseconds. All the processes are having only CPU operation and no IO operations are involved. In the beginning, there are only three processes P1, P2 and P3 in the ready queue, and the process which is having shortest execution time is picked, that is P2 is picked. It starts its execution. Now after 2 milliseconds, P4 will enter the ready queue. Since the P4 execution time, that is 2 milliseconds, is less than the remaining execution time of the P2, that is 3 milliseconds, P2 is preempted and the P4 will start its execution. During the execution, since no process will enter into the ready queue, the P4 will complete its execution. Then the ready queue is sorted. Now again the process with less execution time is picked. That is the task which is preempted by P4, that is P2 will with remaining execution time 3 milliseconds is picked for execution. Before the order was P2, P3, P1. After sorting, the order is P2, P4, P2, P3, P1. The new execution sequence is shown in the diagram. First, P2 executes for 2 milliseconds. Then it is preempted by P4. Then P4 executes for 2 milliseconds. After completion of P4 again, P2 will resume its execution and it will execute for 3 milliseconds. And then P3 will execute for 7 milliseconds. And last, P1 will execute for 10 milliseconds. Waiting time is the time waited by the process for getting chance for its execution. Waiting time should be considered till the process completes its execution. The waiting time for all the process are for P2 is equal to 0 plus 2 millisecond is equal to 2 millisecond. For P4 is equal to 0 millisecond. As soon as it enters the ready queue, it starts its execution. P3 is equal to 7 millisecond. P1 is equal to 14 millisecond. Average waiting time is given by average waiting time is equal to waiting time for all the process divided by number of processes. That is equal to waiting time for P4 plus P2 plus P3 plus P1 divided by 4. That is equal to 0 plus 2 plus 7 plus 14 divided by 4. That is equal to 23 divided by 4. That is equal to 5.75 milliseconds. Turnaround time for any process is the time spent in ready queue plus execution time. Turnaround time for all process is given below. For P2 is equal to 7 millisecond. For P4 is equal to 2 millisecond. For P3 is equal to 14 millisecond. For P1 is equal to 24 millisecond. Average turnaround time is equal to turnaround time for all the process divided by number of process. That is equal to turnaround time for P2 plus P4 plus P3 plus P1 divided by 4. That is equal to 7 plus 2 plus 14 plus 24 divided by 4. That is equal to 47 divided by 4. That is equal to 11.75 millisecond. Round robin scheduling. Round robin method tells equal chance to all. In round robin method, each process in the ready queue executes for a predefined time slot. The execution starts with first process and it continues till the first process completes its execution or the timer expires. Then it will pick the second process for execution and it continues till the last process. And again it will come back for the execution of the first process. It follows a circular buffer. The time slice is provided by timer tick feature. Round robin follows the first come first serve policy. The figure shows the round robin scheduling. First process 1 executes, then process 2 executes, then process 3 executes, then process 4 executes. Then again it will come back to process 1 execution. Hence it forms a circular buffer. Example 1. 3 processes having process IDs P1, P2, P3 and also having estimated completion time 6, 4, 2 milliseconds respectively. This process enters the ready queue together in the order P1, P2, P3. Calculate the waiting time and turnaround time TAT for each process, and also calculate average waiting time and average turnaround time. And this RR algorithm is having time slice is equal to 2 milliseconds. The scheduling can be explained with the below figures. First, the scheduler sorts the ready queue based on the first come first serve policy. Here, the order in which the execution happens is P1, P2, P3. First, it will pick first process P1 for execution. After 2 milliseconds, P1 is preempted, and it will pick P2 for execution. After 2 milliseconds, P2 is preempted, and then P3 is picked for execution, and it will complete its execution. And again P1 is picked to resume its execution, and it will execute for another 2 milliseconds, and then again P2 is picked for execution, and it will complete its execution, and then P1 is picked for execution, and after 2 milliseconds it completes its execution. The waiting time for all the processes are given as waiting time for P1 is equal to 0 plus 4 plus 2 is equal to 6 milliseconds. Waiting time for P2 is equal to 2 plus 4 is equal to 6 milliseconds. Waiting time for P3 is equal to 4 milliseconds. Average waiting time is equal to waiting time for all the processes divided by number of processes. That is equal to waiting time for P1 plus P2 plus P3 divided by 3. That is equal to 6 plus 6 plus 4 divided by 3. That is equal to 5.33 milliseconds. Turnaround time is given by time spent in ready queue plus execution time. Turnaround time TAT for P1 is equal to 12 milliseconds. Turnaround time TAT for P2 is equal to 10 milliseconds. Turnaround time TAT for P3 is equal to 6 milliseconds. Average turnaround time is equal to turnaround time for all the processes divided by number of processes. That is equal to turnaround time for P1 plus P2 plus P3 divided by 3. That is equal to 12 plus 10 plus 6 divided by 3. That is equal to 28 divided by 3. That is equal to 9.33 milliseconds. Average execution time is equal to execution time for all the process divided by number of process. That is equal to execution time for P1 plus P2 plus P3 divided by 3. That is equal to 6 plus 4 plus 2 divided by 3. That is equal to 12 divided by 3. That is equal to 4 milliseconds. There is one more way of defining average turnaround time. That is, average turnaround time TAT is the sum of the average waiting time and average execution time. Average execution time is equal to execution time for all the process divided by number of process. That is equal to execution time for P1 plus P2 plus P3 divided by 3. That is equal to 6 plus 4 plus 2 divided by 3. That is equal to 12 divided by 3. That is equal to 4 milliseconds. Average turnaround time is equal to average waiting time plus average execution time. That is equal to 5.33 plus 4. That is equal to 9.33 milliseconds. Priority based scheduling. Priority based preemptive scheduling algorithm is same as that of the non-preemptive priority based scheduling. The difference between them is switching execution between the tasks. In priority-based preemptive scheduling, any high priority process entering the ready queue is immediately scheduled for execution. In priority-based non-preemptive scheduling, any high priority process entering the ready queue is scheduled only after the currently executing process completes its execution or when it voluntarily blocks the CPU. Example 1. Three processes are having process IDs P1, P2, P3 and estimated completion time for them is 10, 5, 7 milliseconds respectively. And their priorities are in the order 1, 3, 2. Here 0 means highest priority and 3 means lowest priority. All these processes enters the ready queue together. A new process is having estimated completion time 6 milliseconds and priority 0 enters the ready queue after 5 milliseconds of start of execution of P1. All the processes contain only CPU operation and no IO operations are involved. At the beginning, there are three processes P1, P2 and P3 available in the ready queue. And the scheduler picks the process with the highest priority. Here P1 is having priority 1, it is picked up for execution. Now process P4 with priority 0 enters the ready queue. Since it is having highest priority, P1 is preempted. P4 will start its execution. After 6 milliseconds, P4 completes its execution and again P1 will resume its execution since it is having highest priority than P3 and P2. After completion of P1, it will pick P3 for execution since its priority is 2 compared to P2 since its priority is 3. After P3, it will pick P2 for execution. At the beginning, the order was P1, P3, P2. Now the new order is P1, P4, P1, P3, P2. In the figure, the execution time and sequence for each process is shown. The waiting time for all the processes are as follows. Waiting time for P1 is equal to 0 plus 6 is equal to 6 millisecond. Waiting time for P4 is equal to 0 millisecond. Waiting time for P3 is equal to 16 millisecond. Waiting time for P2 is equal to 23 millisecond. Average waiting time is equal to waiting time for all the processes divided by number of processes. That is equal to waiting time for P1 plus P2 plus P3 plus P4 divided by 4. That is equal to 6 plus 0 plus 16 plus 23 divided by 4 is equal to 45 divided by 4. That is equal to 11.25 millisecond. Turnaround time is given by time spent in ready queue plus execution time. Time spent in ready queue is given by execution start time minus arrival time of the process. Turnaround time TAT for P1 is equal to 16 millisecond. Turnaround time TAT for P4 is equal to 6 millisecond. Turnaround time TAT for P3 is equal to 23 millisecond. Turnaround time TAT for P2 is equal to 28 millisecond. Average turnaround time is equal to turnaround time for all the processes divided by number of processes. Turnaround time for P1 plus P2 plus P3 plus P4 divided by 4. That is equal to 16 plus 6 plus 23 plus 28 divided by 4. That is equal to 73 divided by 4. That is equal to 18.25 millisecond. Task communication. In a multitasking system, multiple tasks or processes run concurrently and each process may or may not interact between them. Based on the interaction, the process running on the OS are classified as cooperating process, competing process. First one, cooperating process. In the cooperating interaction model, one process requires the input from other process to complete its execution. Competing process. The competing process do not share anything among themselves, but they share the system resources. System resources such as file, display device, etc. Cooperating Cooperating process exchanges information and communicate through the following: cooperation through sharing, cooperation through communication. First one, cooperation through sharing. The cooperating process exchange data through some shared resources. Cooperation through communication. In cooperation through communication, no data is shared between the process, but they communicate to sync with each other. The mechanism through which processes or tasks communicate with each other is known as inter-process or task communication, that is IPC. Some of the important IPC mechanisms adopted by kernels are explained below. First one, shared memory. In this, processes share some area of the memory to communicate among them. Information to be communicated by one process to other process is written to the shared memory area. Other process which require this information can read the same from the shared memory area. The information of shared memory concept is kernel dependent. Figure shows in the shared memory area, information to be shared is written by one process and other process. In this figure, process 1 and process 2 can read this information from the shared memory area. Different mechanisms are adopted by different kernels for implementing this. A few among them are pipes and memory mapped objects. First one, pipes. Pipe is a part of the shared memory used by the processes for communicating among them. Pipes follows the client-server architecture. The process which creates a pipe is known as pipe server and the process which connects to a pipe is known as pipe client. Pipe is used for information flow and it has two ends. It can be unidirectional, allowing information flow in one direction, or bidirectional, allowing information flow in two directions. In unidirectional pipe, it allows the process connected at one end of the pipe to write to the pipe and the process connected at the other end of the pipe to read the data. Bidirectional pipe allows both reading and writing at one end. Unidirectional pipe is shown in first figure. The implementation of pipes is OS dependent. Microsoft Windows Desktop operating system support as two types of pipes for inter-process communication. They are anonymous pipes and named pipes. First one, anonymous pipes. Anonymous pipes has no name for them and they are unidirectional pipes. They are used for data transfer between two processes. Named pipes. Named pipes are having name for them. Named pipes can be either unidirectional or bidirectional pipe used for data exchange between processes. In unidirectional pipes, the process at one end will write the information to be transferred to another process into the pipe and at the other end, the other process reads the information from the pipe. In unidirectional pipes, the information flow happens from one process to another process. In bidirectional pipe, it allows both reading and writing at one end. That means any process can write the data into the pipe and can read the data written by another process in the pipe. Hence, in bidirectional pipe, the data exchange happens between processes. The process which creates the named pipe is known as pipe server. The process which connects to the named pipe is known as pipe client. Any process can act as both client and server, and it allows point-to-point communication, that is node-to-node communication. Name pipes can be used for communicating between processes running on the same machine or between processes running on the different machines connected to a network. Memory mapped objects. Memory mapped object is a shared memory technique. It is adopted by certain real-time operating systems. Here we allocate a shared block of memory. It can be accessed by multiple processes simultaneously. In this approach, a mapping object is created and physical storage for it is reserved and allocated for it. The process will map the entire committed physical area or a block of it to its virtual address space. All read and write operation will happen to this virtual address space first and then directed to its committed physical area. Any process which wants to share data with other process can map the physical memory area to its virtual memory space and use the virtual memory space for sharing the data. Windows CE 5.0 RTOS uses the memory mapped object-based shared memory technique for inter-process communication. It is shown in figure. Figure shows the concept of memory mapped object. It has physical memory. There are two processes, process 1 and process 2. Process 1 has its own code and process 2 has its own code. Process 1 and process 2 has its own virtual memory space. Physical memory is mapped to the process 1's and process 2's virtual address space. Here for virtual address space, some address range is specified, that is from 0x60000000 to 0x60008000. The create file mapping open parenthesis handle h file comma lp security underscore attributes lp file mapping attributes comma dword fl protect comma dword dw maximum size high comma dword dw maximum size low comma lpcstr lp name close parenthesis. This API call is used for sharing the memory by doing mapping from a file. To map from the system paging memory, the handle parameter should be passed as invalid underscore handle underscore value of -1. LP file mapping attributes parameter is a security attributes. It should be null to provide security to the memory mapped object. The FL protect parameter is used for read-write access for the shared memory area. The value of page read-only makes the shared memory read-only, and page underscore read-write gives read underscore write access to the shared memory. The parameter DW maximum size high specifies the higher order 32 bits of the maximum size of the memory mapped object, and DW maximum size low specifies the lower order 32 bits of the memory size of the memory mapped object. The parameter LP name points to a null terminated string. Null terminated string is a string ends with null character. It specifies the name of the memory mapped object. Memory mapped object is created as unnamed object if the parameter LP name is null. If LP name specifies the name of an existing memory mapped object, the function returns the handle of the existing memory mapped object to the caller process. The memory mapped object can be shared between the process by either passing the handle of the object or by passing its name. In this type of shared access, there is possibility of closing the handle by the process. which created the handle when it is in use by another process. This will throw OS level exceptions. If the name of the memory object is passed for shared access among processes can use this name for creating a shared memory object which will open the shared memory object with the given name. The OS will maintain a usage count for the named memory mapped object, and it will increment each time when a process creates or opens a memory mapped object with existing name. This will prevent the destruction of a shared memory object by one process while it is being accessed by another process. The map weave of file open parenthesis handle h file mapping object dword dw desired access comma dword dw file offset high comma dword dwf file offset low comma dword dw number of bytes to map maps a weave of the memory mapped object to the address space of the calling process. The parameter h-file mapping object specifies the handle to an existing memory mapped object. The DW desired access parameter gives read-write access for the mapped weave area. The file underscore map underscore write gives read-write access. For this h-file mapping object is also created with read-write access. The file underscore map underscore read gives read-only access to the shared memory, provided the h-file mapping object is created with read underscore write bar read-only access. The parameter DW file offset high specifies the higher order 32 bits and DW file offset low specifies the lower order 32 bits of the memory offset. From this addresses, the mapping will begin from memory mapped object. DW number of bytes to map specifies the number of bytes of the memory object to map. If DW number of bytes to map is 0, the entire memory area owned by the memory mapped object is mapped. On successful execution, map weave of file call returns the starting address of the mapped weave. If the function fails, it returns null. API call unmap weave of file unmaps the weave of the memory object. The LP base address parameter specifies a pointer to the base address of the mapped weave of a memory mapped object that is to be unmapped. This value is identical to the value returned by a previous call to the map weave of file function. Calling unmap weave of file cleans up the committed physical storage in a process virtual address space. Message passing. Message passing is an synchronous or asynchronous information exchange mechanism used for inter-process or thread communication. The difference between the shared memory and message parameter technique is that through shared memory lots of data can be shared, whereas only limited amount of info or data is passed through message passing. Message passing is relatively fast and free from synchronization overheads compared to shared memory. Based on the message passing operation between the process, message passing is classified into message queue, mailbox, signaling. First one, message queue. Usually the process which wants to talk to another process wants the message to a first in first out queue called message queue, which stores the message temporarily in system defined memory object and it will pass to the desired process. Same thing is shown in figure. Process 1 sends message to the message queue and the process 2 will receive message from message queue. Messages are sent and received through send and receive methods. The messages are exchanged through a message queue. Implementation of the message queue send and receive method are OS kernel dependent. Coming to thread, a thread which wants to communicate with another thread posts the message to the system message queue. Coming to the system message queue, the kernel picks up the message from the system message queue one at a time and find out the destination thread and post the message to the message queue of the corresponding thread. For posting a message to a thread's message queue, the kernel fills a message structure and copies it to the message queue of the thread. The message structure MSG contains the handle of the process or thread for which the message should be sent. The message parameters, the time at which the message is posted, etc. A thread can simply post a message to another thread and can continue its operation, or it may wait for a response from the thread to which the message is posted. The messaging mechanism is classified into synchronous and asynchronous based on the behavior of the posting thread. In asynchronous messaging, the message posting thread just posts the message to the queue and it will not wait for an acceptance from the thread to which the message is posting. In synchronous messaging, the thread which posts a message enters waiting state and waits for the message result from the thread which the message is posted. Mailbox message for IPC inter-process communication in RTOS is used for one-way messaging. The task or thread which wants to send a message to other task or thread creates a mailbox for posting the messages. The threads which are interested in receiving the messages posted to the mailbox can subscribe to the mailbox. The thread which creates the mailbox is known as mailbox server, and the thread which subscribe to the mailbox are known as mailbox client. The mailbox server posts messages to the mailbox and notifies it to the clients which are subscribed to the mailbox. The clients read the messages from the mailbox and receiving the notification. The mailbox creation, subscription, message reading and writing are achieved through OS kernel API calls. Mailbox and message queues are same in functionality. The only difference is in the number of messages supported by them. In message queue, more than one messages can be passed from one task to another task. Mailbox is used for exchanging a single message between two tasks or between an interrupt service routine ISR and a task. Mailbox as pointer which points to the mailbox and a wait list to hold task waiting for a message to appear in the mailbox. Figure shows the transfer of message from task to the interested task among task 2, task 3, task 4 through mailbox. Signaling. Signaling is a primitive way of communication between processes or threads. Signals are used for asynchronous notifications. One process or thread fires a signal which is in the indication of the occurrence of a scenario for which the other processes or threads are waiting. Signals will not occur in queue and they do not carry any data. Third one, remote procedure call, RPC and sockets. Remote procedure call or RPC in the inter-process communication mechanism used by a process to call a procedure of another process running on the same CPU or on a different CPU which are interconnected in a network. In the object-oriented language, RPC is also known as remote invocation or remote method invocation, RMI. Distributed applications are the applications which run on the different computers at the same time. RPC is mainly used for distributed applications like client-server applications. Heterogeneous network is the network where client or server applications are running on different operating systems. With RPC, it is possible to communicate over a heterogeneous network. From the server, the CPU or process containing the procedure is invoked. The CPU or process which initiates an RPC request is known as client. It is possible to implement RPC communication with different invocation interfaces. In order to make the RPC communication compatible across the platform, it should stick on to certain standard formats. Interface definition language IDL defines the interfaces for RPC. The RPC communication can be either synchronous or asynchronous. RPC has authentication mechanisms. The client application should authenticate themselves with the server for getting access. Few authentication mechanisms are IDs, public key cryptography, etc. are used by client for authentication. Without authentication, any client can access the remote procedure. This will lead to security risks. Sockets are used for RPC communication. Socket is a logical endpoint. It is used in two-way communication link between two applications running on a network. A port number is associated with a socket so that the network layer of the communication channel can deliver the data to the designated application.